Hey, what's up, guys? Let's talk about bass lines. So when I was starting out, I really wanted to make like really cool bass lines that had like lots of low end, that moved a lot and things like that. And there's a lot of things that I did that were completely wrong in making them. And I didn't understand that there was multiple octaves and multiple layers that kind of goes into making these bass lines. And I just kind of want to go through that. So I have something that I would have created when I started out, and it sounded like this. Right, something like this. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds cool, but let's try going down an octave like that. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound good. And I was like, I would get so frustrated, and I would do things like this. I would add like an EQ8 and just like add a shelf and be like, more bass. But that doesn't do anything. It just makes it more ringy. Like I'm trying to add frequencies that aren't there. So what I would do is I would attempt to study other tracks of the time, and I noticed that they did some things, and they were the same note, but it was still kind of changing up and down an octave. And I was like, huh, okay, so let me take a look at that. And this was like the genesis of like, oh yeah, so there's more to what's going on. Like the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I was doing that. I was doing like this shelving thing. I was putting in things like R bass and like things like that. And I was like, dude, you have like a computer with multiple channels. Just use multiple channels or use more than one, whatever. Anyway, so let's get into that. So I have this basic thing here, and we are F sharp. So I'm going to kind of do a thing like that. Let's give that a listen, and I'll just yeah, solo it. Right. And that is where it happens. All right. And you just kind of play around with it. And for those that are using Ableton, you can just hit fold, and you can have it like this, so you don't need to look at all the other notes that don't mean anything. Cool. All right. So there's that. I'll just hit. Oops. Do that. I will hit duplicate like so. And that's how that bass line was conceived, basically. So now we have a low end that we can play with. And I cheat. I'm really into adding a little bit of shelving in the low end and then cutting this part out too. You can also add a little bit of low end by adding some drive, which kind of smudges it. And that's all well and good. Let's continue with another example of something that I would do. So let's get another kind of bass here, similar thing. So let's get that original idea. Well, we might want to hit play first. And I'm like, okay, so I want to add low end to that, and I don't want to do the do thing. What I can do in this is, I suddenly realize that synths have more than one oscillator. And I could add another oscillator and make sure it's routed into the filter here. And I can have that an octave below, which is a similar concept to what we had here, but it is still the one note and they're playing at the same time. So let's drop that in. And I noticed something that, just a little tip here, is sometimes basses don't like to abruptly stop. They need to kind of ring out to seem big. So I just increase the release. Like they need to kind of ring out a little bit, like a real bass guitar, or anything like that. It rings out a little bit. It's not like doo doo doo. Oh, it can, but to me it just sounds bigger when you have that little bit of ringiness. That's a free tip. So yeah, there's that, and that's all well and good. So let's Just bring this down here. This is what it sounds like with that. So now it has more continuity with the kick. Right, and that sounds pretty cool. Once I got into that mode, and I was like, okay, so there's layers, and how would I organize layers? Well, I'd organize them in frequency, and there's terminology that I was starting to be aware of: sub bass, mid bass, lead bass, bass salad, bass stew, which doesn't make any sense. It's early, but yeah. Anyway, let's drop in another serum, yes, for another layer, and I'll use this. I'll just copy that clip over to here and drop that in, and this would be, I guess, the mid bass. Or no, yeah, no. You know what? It would be the mid bass, and this could be a contrast, or you know what? This could just be like an offbeat sort of thing, and it would sound really cool. And things like that. Just a basic thing, and that would be the second layer here. So when we think about sub bass, so this would be, this right here is the sub and a little bit of the mid. That's the meat of the bass. And this one is something else entirely. It would be kind of like a driving mid bass. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of then bring that down an octave. And the sky's the limit with this one. You can kind of adjust the character of it, and there's no kind of rules. And this one can be a little bit wider, and you're mixing in multiple dimensions once you get to this point. And you want the left and the right to be not the same, and it gives a lot of movement. Right, but that has some mid and a little bit of low to it. So you know what? Just add some EQ, or sorry, take away, or we'll add an EQ and then take away a bit. And this is the number one rule of production. Is production is reduction, and it doesn't matter what things sound like by themselves. It's what they sound like together, and with experience and a little bit of luck and some determination and some stubbornness and a bit of ego, you can kind of know what you're doing without even listening to the other one. So with these two playing together, just as a cheesy trance example, you kind of get it. And you can take it even further. And just shave some things off. Okay, so from there, let's kind of just continue. So I'm going to create a new MIDI track, and once I found this out, I was like, cool, I got it. So I'm gonna drop in a serum. Drop in a serum, and this is when I kinda, you know what? I'll just double click, and we're in F sharp. So this is when I was like, oh my God, there's sub bass. There's things that you can do, sound design wise, that will make your bass sound amazing. And this is when I figured this out. I was like, I'm a genius. I'm retiring. I'm done. So this is an offbeat bass, and we have all these other guys going on here, which, if you haven't been paying attention, here they are. And there's something that you can do in Serum, well, any synth really, and that is just make a sine wave, or have something, and I'll show you both uh, techniques, I guess. So we'll go singles, and then we'll go sine. So this is a sine wave. This has no harmonics, and what it does is it just is that. All right, that's cool. Let's bring it down. All right, so you take that, and what can you do with that? Well, you can layer that with the rest of your bass line. And it's subtle, but what you're doing is you're adding a bass, essentially. And it's right down there, you can see it. It's kind of clicking, and you know why it's clicking is because of the phase and the randomness, which is another video. There you go. And then we can do some cool stuff, using extreme filtering. Right? And that hits the subs, and that's something really cool. And you can kind of give that a try down there. And that really hits the subs. If you really want to turn that up, if you want to get turned. And, you know, we can add a little bit of gain there. And, you know, these are just the things that you can do and explore. What else was I going to show you? I was going to show you the other way to kind of make a sub bass. That's more like a dubstep-y thing. And that's like really specific to like, I have like this bass thing going on, but it has no low end. I'm going to add a low end with the sine wave. But yeah, let's go saw. Okay, so this is a saw. And what we can do is we can use an extreme filter, not an extreme filter. It's a low filter, bring that down. Let's just solo that. Alright, so I just want that low end going on, and I can increase the drive. And with the envelope, the volume envelope, or the amplitude envelope, I can kind of make it a bit more not so uniform. A tiny bit of a release. And then let's get into the Q8. And it's doing that thing where it's restarting. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, that's good. That's good. This would be the sub bass. Just as an example. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned stuff. Take care and have a good one.